Hey guys, welcome to Sippin' and Spillin' with Sid from 3 Mississippi. Tis a warm one today. Um, there's like no breeze and it's super quiet. Like the birds are not chirping hardly, the bugs are not buzzing. It's just like it's just quiet. It's really quiet. It's just I think everybody and everything is too hot and it's a lot. So just I know today when I went out this morning to uh, get the birds out on the pasture and move the pups into the goat pen and feed everybody and water everybody and do all the things. By the time I came back inside, I was soaking wet. It was just, and that was at like 7 this morning. So it's hot. It's quite warm. Um, and I learned something interesting. I wish I could show you guys without spooking it, but there's a few butterflies that have been eating with the hummingbirds at the hummingbird feeders. And I noticed, and I've noticed this before, that in August, I noticed this last year too, the wasp situation on the porch changes. Normally, the wasps leave the hummingbird feeders alone. There's no not a lot of wasps around it, anything like that. I noticed last August and this August that that's not the case. That they tend to come and get around the feeders a little bit more, and they're still not going up onto the haint blue ceiling or anything, but they pop underneath and go to the feeder maybe, and then they leave, right? And I ran across this thing on the interwebs that said that the reason that happens is because the queen mother wasp, the queen, she basically has laid her eggs at that point. She creates new soldier wasps every year. She's laid her eggs by now that are going to be the new queens, and she has basically she's turned off her pheromone scent for the workers. And so she's kind of abandoned them, and they go in there, they know they're going to die, and so they just start trying to find food for themselves because they basically have been evicted and have lost their job. Kind of sad. So I guess that explains why the other day I got attacked by a rogue wasp. I don't know, but there it is. It's a little tidbit I learned. Um, and it is warm. We had that little bit of false fall pop through a few days ago, and it is making up for it this week. I think we're triple digits and then some every day this week for the foreseeable future, and not a rainstorm in sight. There is no rain in the forecast that I have seen. I know there's been a lot of people commenting that in their areas it's been dry for weeks. We did have a couple storms come through. We're in this weird little pocket because we're sort of in the northern area of the state, and north, kind of more northeastern area of the state, and so we get these weird little pockets of storms that maybe don't hit the rest of the state, but at the same time, a lot of times the really bad ones sort of miss us because we're in this weird little pocket. It's not a bad spot to be. I'm not mad at it. But because we had such a cold snap our first year here, it sort of shocked some of the plants, and so everything's kind of off kilter. Like you guys have heard me say, my gardenia bush really went into shock, and it never flowered this season. The leaves have come back on about 90% of the plant, but I'm gonna have to whack it way back this fall and let it kind of calm down. And then our big pear tree that is usually a really good draw for the deer right about now has not produced fruit because it's just that cold snap just really has set a lot of the things back. So there's a lot of things that we haven't seen as much of this year as we did previously. Like our first year here, we saw a lot more squirrels, and this year not nearly as many, because I think some of the nuts and things that they're used to getting off of some of the trees right here, were just not producing like they have in the past because of that cold snap that we had. You know, we got down to, I think the coldest we got down to was like 5 or 6 degrees. And we did get that little dusting of snow. So it got colder than normal, I guess, for a little bit longer. And it was like I mean, and it dipped quick. So there was like kind of, it was just one of those things that I just sort of shocked everything. Um, and then, of course, you know, uh, because we had such a dry summer last year, according to everything that we've heard from everyone, you know, normally the last year they had already cut like the soybeans and the corn, so the deer had kind of moved out of those areas and had come up here. Well, they haven't cut those yet in our area, um, so it's sort of everything's sort of on a different schedule this year. So it's kind of interesting to sort of watch the changes just because of a few things that happened. Um, really sort of setting some things back and changing some things. So it'll be interesting to see this deer season, you know, what kind of activity that we end up seeing. Because usually in the fall, and even now, you know, a lot of the fawns are you know, a few months old and they're coming up. Usually we see them up here a lot, and I've seen them kind of crossing the road and I've seen them coming out of Silver, but I haven't seen any up here in what we call the park, which is right outside of the front porch. Have not seen any deer coming up. Like usually, I mean, they're right under that pear tree, which is only a couple hundred, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe like 100 yards, maybe a little over 100 yards from where I'm sitting right now. So usually you can see them pretty clearly. They're like right there. And I've sat here many mornings when Frankie was going off to school and just watched the deer in the front yard, and we just haven't had any of them. So it's kind of interesting. You know, now obviously with the pears not being on it, they're not as interested. They're not coming up. There's nothing for them to really want to eat. Plus we've added more animals that I'm sure affects it as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that does end up affecting uh, deer season as far as spotting them. I know that they'll still be, you know, out there and still living their life and doing their things and whatever, but it is nice as somebody who doesn't really participate in the hunt, it's nice to be able to kind of see them out here. Usually when we come home in the evening, we would see them. So maybe it'll be a little bit later in the fall that we'll actually start seeing them more. But last year we saw them a lot earlier. You know, when it was still summer and still quite warm out, we would see them. So I guess just a few differences of some of the crops in the area not being cut at the normal, maybe not the normal time, but the time they were last year. So it seems everything just seems off to us, even though technically this is apparently more normal as far as the timing of things go. So it's very interesting. You know, it's kind of the learning curve, you know, still kind of figuring out what's the regular uh, schedule for things, if you will. But yeah, tonight, guys, we've got our live with you, which is always fun and exciting. Got some stuff to talk about as far as kind of starting over on some stuff and redoing a few things and getting some final touches on some others. So we'll go over that with you guys tonight in the live on 3 Mississippi. I know Mike's kind of gearing up to basically start the next phase of the garden, the fall garden, and then of course the deer plots. He's got to get rolling on that. I think he's got all the pieces that he needs to do it, but he just hasn't done it yet. He had to. I had mentioned you guys he had to replace the lawnmower blades on the Cub Cadet, and so we had to, and then we had to kind of wait. There was a couple of big rain storms that did come, so we were waiting for the new blades to come. So then, you know, that the grass got a little bit tall, and so now he was able to get out and kind of mow the areas that needed it. But now he's going to have to either go bush hog or go cut a path down there and around the area where he wants to do the deer plot, because he's sort of letting those pastures grow up because he wants to do a burn on them to kind of help with the soil out there, because the soil is not the best on the pasture, so that hay that grows off of it is, I guess, not very nutrient dense. It needs some help. So he's one of the first things that they recommend doing is to do a burn on it, and so I think that's the game plan that he's gonna be doing in a few months. But um, hopefully that will help and make it much more better, make it better pasture for, in a few years when we've built up the sheep situation, that they'll be out there and able to enjoy it. Obviously, for right now, we haven't gotten any sheep yet. Just sort of, getting the guardian livestock dogs situated and kind of having the goats, and of course getting Frankie's horse soon, and then once we kind of get a few of those things done, I'm hoping by this next spring we'll be able to be at the point where we can start incorporating the sheep and get that program rolling. Um, but I had mentioned I'm going to do my meat birds a little earlier this year than I did last year. Um, I am going to try really hard to get them done and out probably before, I want to say before, oh, let's see, definitely by the middle of June. I'd maybe like to do it by the beginning of June, end of May. I kind of have to see. I'm gonna have to see a little bit, and then it's also going to depend too on what kinds I get. I need to start stalking the interweb and looking for the American Bresse to get my hands on those guys, because I would like to start a small group of them, and get them established. So we'll see. That's been sort of one of my elusive ones for a while. So I'm gonna have to try really hard to get my hands on them this year. But fingers crossed that I can. But it's about that time to start stocking all the things that I want for this next season, to kind of get everything laid out, and make sure that was a weird noise. Bunko's over there, but it sounded, I don't know, that sounded odd. I don't know. And we got the new weed whacker replacement came today, so that's good. I can get some more edging done over here. Maybe not right now today, because today is kind of a busy day. I got to pick up Frankie from school, and we have got to go to church, and then I come back and do the live with you guys, and then I go back and pick Frank up. So Wednesdays are always sort of like go, go, go. And then once a month, Wednesdays are real go, go, go. So that's okay too. And I got to run by the hardware store because I did get those, the goldfish for the stock tank and the tablets that help keep the tank happy. And I've been scooping out the, debris that falls in there every day. But I feel like it just still is just making the algae. So I'm going to get a piece of copper pipe, because the copper supposedly helps with the slowing slash mostly elimination of the algae and things in the water. And it's supposed to be like have some antimicrobial properties or something that helps with that. So it's due to be, emptied and kind of scrubbed down. So tomorrow morning, I figure I'll take out all the goldfish and put them in a bucket with some of that water. And then I will empty the stock tank, because that takes a while, let it drain out, and then scrub it down real good, put that copper piece in, and we'll give it a test run. We'll see how well that works. I think it'll work. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. I've also heard a lot of people talking about changing the fitting on their swimming pools to help keep the algae out of their swimming pools. So when it goes through the filter, it's going through the copper thing, and supposedly that a lot of people are swearing by that it's really helping during the summer months when people tend to have algae blooms. So I'm like, well, shoot, that's brilliant. So I'm like, man, maybe I should throw a copper pipe into the little pond too to help clear that up. It needs cleaned out. That pond, I mean, we did that big burn, but there's so many pine trees there. They're always dropping pine needles, and it's just hard to, it's hard to do. Probably have to do a little burn around there again. this year. We'll see. Maybe get a little bit further down the bank and get some of that cleaned out more. And I know a lot of you are like, oh, save the pine needles, save the pine needles. There is no shortage of pine needles around here. So just getting that area cleaned out that way works fine. We have plenty of pine needles in lots of other places if we need pine needles for other things, for composting or for in the garden or anything like that. So not super worried about finding that, but you know, God, I'm gonna have to get out here and hand water a lot of these plants again. I just did it, but it's just been so warm. I'm gonna have to get out here and hand water some of my porch plants. I've managed to keep everybody alive. Marvin's alive inside. Everybody's alive. I've been doing good. So, but I do need to get in here and clear out some of these vines. Have just gotten very invasive, and they were not planted. I don't know where they came from, but they just sort of have taken over, and it's real hard to find the time to get out here and just whack into them and cut into them. So I need to find the time to do that probably in the next few days, but we shall see. Anyway, guys, I will let you go. We will see you tonight at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time for the live on 3 Mississippi. And I hope you're having a blessed day. And until then, safety's off.